Hey kids, have you ever been out in public and then looked over and said, hey, is that so-and-so? Or had a brush with a celebrity or anybody famous? Well, tonight the assholes are going to discuss their personal experiences. Stay tuned.
This is United A-Holes, a video cast discussing cultural topics with no filter.
I use the term Matt very loosely. I was in Nova Scotia, living in New Glasgow, just after college, drinking at a bar on a weekend. And who walks in but all three Trailer Park Boys?
Pre-huge fame.
They were about season 2 at this point.
Oh, so they were breaking it.
Everybody knew them. They were an event when they walked in. I didn't care. When they weren't at the bar was empty. When they were at the bar, I couldn't get a drink. That's how it affected my life. What makes it a funny story, I guess, is the next day, which would have been a Sunday, I think, we were driving around trying to get some food, fast food. We see this convertible Mustang going down the road. And sure enough, there's the three Trailer Park Boys leaving town. Except they went up an off-ramp. And we just laughed our asses off because, hey, maybe it's not an act.
Or they were filming.
Or, well, I didn't see any film crews, but maybe.
Well, that period of time, they didn't have much for a film crew, I don't believe.
Fair enough.
Huge. Josh, you got any?
Not really.
No?
No.
No famous people.
Nobody that, like...
So have you met anyone that technically would be considered famous, even though people don't know them, that you thought was a positive experience?
I went to see Real Big Fish, which is like a punk ska band. It's like punk with like a horn section.
They're a relatively big name.
And the drummer...
Sorry.
No, please interrupt.
Drummer made you feel funny?
Punk with a horn section.
That's what ska music.
Okay. All right. Carry on.
We'll have to show you later.
No, definitely. I don't think you do.
Oh, no. I think you would like it very well.
You ever listen
really
to No
good.
Doubt? His first
Yeah, the band
album,
No Doubt.
Tragic Kingdom? Second album, Tragic Kingdom. You like No Doubt?
Sure.
Yeah, that's
ska.
All right. Cool.
Okay.
Anyway.
We had to educate Brent.
Someone's gotta, I mean...
It's going to take more than one.
Anyway, the drummer had like a...
Sorry, I had to get it.
That's okay.
Oh my God, you guys, just let him talk.
And I said it wasn't even a good story. Why am I fighting to finish
We're
it?
filling it in for you. We're making it interesting.
Oh, okay.
Did it have moments in it?
What's that?
Did it have moments in it?
No.
Oh.
Okay, so the drummer.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, long story short, he had a solo project. He opened just acoustically for the band, and there were like 3 people watching him play. And so after, I was like, hey, you're a drummer in a band I like, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, like by the time the band went on, we were like, hey, well, have a good show. Like, yeah, you two have fun. Like,
Yeah.
But
Did you get Levon Helm's autograph or Robbie Robertson?
no.
You said the band.
Real Big Fish.
Oh,
Oh my God, these old people.
we said the band. And
Okay, Brent, I know you got a story for us.
Okay. So it's 1991, I believe. 1992, somewhere's in there. I'm early 20s, 21, 22 years old. A buddy of mine and I are in Winnipeg. We're both working for the Northwest Company. We're in Winnipeg for the weekend because we both lived in remote areas. So if you wanted McDonald's, if you wanted, like we lived in areas where, like, remote, there's nothing other than the store you work at in most places. So he's never been to a strip club at this point in his life, and is not entirely sure if he really wants to go because isn't that degrading? I talk him into, we go to Centerfolds, and then we make our way to Teasers. Having no idea who's going to be on. We're just out for the weekend. And a dancer comes out, they introduce her as Bunny Blue. She is a porn star of over 300 movies, I believe.
Sig Heil?
No.
Easy, dude.
Jesus Christ.
It wasn't above my shoulders. Everybody fucking relax. Jesus Christ.
Wait for the grid.
It's like a high
stick.
sticking penalty in hockey. You know?
Does it say in here?
Is it props or is it propaganda?
I'm sure that they said over 300 films that she'd been in at that point. Now, I did not know. I wasn't sitting there going, Bunny Blue, are you serious? Really? I didn't know who she was. I will say that for
You weren't as feverishly excited to
Right.
see a soap.
It's a good thing I was
That's right,
saying.
exactly.
In
So-
the bathroom.
Yeah, 25
So they
years
said,
later.
when Bunny's done, you can have your picture taken with her for $12. For $18, she'll sign it. Whatever. I don't remember what the breakdown was. I had enough money and enough liquor in me that I turned to my buddy and I'm like, I'm going to get my picture taken. You coming? And he's like, no, I could do that. All right. So I stand in line.
Can't stand
and-
up right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Get in my wheelchair.
So I'm standing in line waiting, and it was pretty much all young men. It's a strip club, right? And the guys before me, what's that? The boys? No, teasers. The guys in front of me are being inappropriate. They're being pigs. They're treating her like she's not a human being. They're rude comments, and they're drunk, which is not an excuse. I was drunk too, and I did not act like that. She clearly was
Good
not,
job, Barb.
she clearly was not into that. Like, she wasn't like, oh yeah, you naughty boys. Like, she had just got done performing. She did a great show, and now she's got to take pictures.
Well, yeah, she's still at work right now.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
yeah.
She's still at work, and they're being assholes, but not, funny assholes like us, real assholes.
He thinks we're funny.
So I get up. I'm last guy to get my picture taken because I've had this conversation with Ron about whether to go or not, so I didn't get to the front of the line. I get up, take the picture. Randy has a copy of the picture. You'll see it at some point in time. There you go. It'll have to be blurred out because she,
She got done work.
yeah, exactly. She's partially naked. I'm standing there, Carleton County boy, dumbfounded like a deer in the friggin' headlights. And she's standing.
What a set of headlights they have.
Yes, they are. And
And a mighty fine deer, might I say.
so she lifts her leg and says, "Here, hold my leg." So she immediately, I'm like, okay, because I'm thinking she's in a bad mood. Yeah, you want to see the picture? Yeah,
I want to see you in the picture. It's more
Okay.
of them.
And so I'm like, all right. So I hold the leg. She grabs a hold of the boob. They take the picture. She turns to, I imagine, a handler of hers of some sort. I don't know exactly who he was. And says, when you get his picture, because it's just a Polaroid, when his picture is ready, hand it to me. I'm signing his, but I'm not signing those other guys' picture. They were assholes.
Nice.
She grabs it. She signs it. Dear Brent, with wet lips, Bunny Blue.
Do you still have that killer muscle shirt?
That, you know what? That is not a muscle shirt for starters. I just had them pulled up because I had a tattoo. I only had one tattoo at that point.
You wanted her to see your tattoos?
That is a size small.
Check out the guns, Blue.
Yeah, look at my arms.
That's a size small. So she signs
Small
it.
compared to you.
She signs it, hands it over to me, and I just walk away with a great story. And then years later, the internet comes along, and I still have this picture tucked away and go, I should look up and see Bunny Blue. Yeah, son of a gun.
Is she still active? Or?
She was done in 2000. I looked it up. We were talking about that.
2001 was her last
2001. Was that the last?
feature film. Yeah.
Yeah.
2001 was truly the 9/11 of the porn world.
Wow, that's an analogy. And as I was sitting here thinking about it, when you did two stories, when I was very young, I don't even know how old, it was a school trip, I shook Queen Elizabeth's hand.
Ah, that's cool.
So,
That's cool.
but there was no interaction. It was just, she was shaking like,
So no, hey girl.
no, again. At least I knew who she was.
So I sat and thought about this after we had the talk that we were going to do this. And I recounted numerous close encounters, I guess it would be, with famous people. And I tried to think of the one that would be the best story to tell. And I think I'm going to go with the coolest person because of how normal they were and how they were really down to earth, even though to most people it won't mean anything. But there's a drummer, of course, always a drummer. So this had been 5-6 years ago. Korn and Disturbed were playing St. John.
Nice.
So a group of us went to St. John to watch this concert. And we went down early in the day with plans of going to grab some food, then hitting Harbor Station, watch the show. On the way there, I get a call from a friend of mine that works at Sabian, and both of the drummers that play for both of those bands are endorsed artists. And Sabian kindly asked them to go to Long and McQuaid and do a meet and greet kind of thing. So he said, look, I don't think anyone's going to be there much. No one's going to know because it was just announced today. It wasn't like it was pre-planned. So if you want to go meet the dudes, go there and tell them I sent you. It's like, okay, cool. I'll do that up. So we go to Long and McQuaid in St. John, walk in, and sure enough, there's Ray Luzier and Mike Wengren both sitting at a table. Their little pictures, the Sabian logo and black marker in hand. So we go up and shake hands, say, hey, looking forward to the show, the usual whatever, and try not to fanboy too hard, you know. And I've been a fan of Ray Luzier's before he was in Korn. He played for David Lee Roth back in the Just Like Paradise era.
Oh, perfect.
He was the
right
drummer on that album.
Yeah,
he's played in
yeah.
a lot of stuff you would have liked. And he's big in the LA scene. Still is.
Well, I thought Greg Bissonette was still the drummer for the Just Like Paradise.
On the tour and the video, yes. But in the studio, it was Ray.
Ray.
Yeah.
Cool.
And he also drummed for Steve Vai.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, so I mean, this guy's the real deal, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a fanboy, but I tried to keep it chill. So another couple drummer friends of mine are there. We do the signature thing and we hang out. Then we just walk around the store because there's other people getting their signatures and whatnot. But we don't realize that the crowd's kind of filtered off. And I had just bought a pedal, drum pedal, probably 8 months before that I despised. I won't go into details of the brand because they're a very good brand and they are very good gear and they've made it right since. But the first edition of this pedal wasn't great. And I had one sitting on the shelf. And it just so happened that Ray was endorsed by this company at that point in time, and I do believe he still is. And my friend and I are standing there, he's like, you got one of those, right? And I'm like, yeah, I hate it. I think it's terrible. I went back to my other pedal that I like, which is right there on the shelf, and they're both very high-end pedals, whatever. And while we're talking about it, Ray comes over and leans in and goes, yeah, I had to send mine back too. I didn't like it. I'm running the same one that you are, blah, 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 on this tour. And he started talking shop, like drum gear, but not like, I know more than you. No, it was just like, so what do you think of this? Have you tried one of these yet? Yeah, I got one of those, and blah, 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 blah. And he just ended up talking like you would with any other normal dude, as opposed to it being some elevated, amazing drummer. And he made it seem so normal and so calm and so chill.
And that's got to be the best encounter.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that he came over to us, so we weren't at his table. They had already packed up. They were getting ready to leave. Yeah. And we just sat there and talked for 15 or 20 minutes about gear, about sound, about whatever. And at that point, it wasn't like, oh, it's Ray Luzier. It's just like this cool dude. And I say Luzier. He goes by Luzier, but I didn't know that because I'd never heard him introduced by anybody.
Oh, okay.
So when I walked up to him, I said, so do you pronounce your last name Luzier or Luzier? And he goes, I pronounce it Luzier, but it's technically Luzier. My family is Luzier. But because I live in LA and people don't speak French very well, that's the way it works. But yeah, so that was probably my best encounter, I would say, for the most part. I've met some cool people that were just equally chill, but that's probably the biggest name.
Mike Mangini?
Mangini was cool. Mangini was a cool meetup.
Drummer for Dream Theater?
Yeah, and then he was the dean of percussion for Berkeley in Boston. That was kind of cool meeting that guy.
Did you meet Gordy Johnson?
I met Gordy, but that was a quick,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was super nice, but he was also surrounded by screaming people, and it's the late night drunk bar thing. I've met a lot of musicians through Sabian. That's really where most of my contact comes from. I mean, those guys are super cool about, if the artist is cool with you meeting them, they will definitely reach out and let some of us locals know.
Nice.
So we can go meet them. I've met some real, again, no one in them, unless you're a drummer, would know, like Jojo Mayer, which you're aware of, but I got to meet that guy, get my picture with him and hang out, and he was pretty cool considering he was on muscle relaxers and in great pain. He pulled a muscle in his back somewhere in the travel.
For those of us who don't, I didn't recognize that name, so he is...
He's more known in the drum education circle than anything.
Okay.
He would be he's been on the cover of Modern Drummer and Drum Magazine and blah, blah, blah,
Okay.
blah, blah, numerous times. And he's like, if you talk to any drummers that are like into technical training. And,
He's very technically proficient.
yeah, he's very technical. Like he's one of the guys that's known, his biggest claim to fame, I would dare say, is reverse engineering electronica and playing it on real drums and making it sound like a drum machine to the point where it's like there's so much going on. And Sabian's invested hundreds to thousands of hours of man time into developing his dream of what he wanted for gear out of their shop. So they've invented instruments for him out of there. The one is the hoop crasher that goes on your snare drum. So when you hit it, it creates that noise as opposed to just a straight snare drum sound. So it sounds like an electronica thing. And the biggest thing that he's really known for, actually, probably now, he developed a cymbal with Sabian called the Omni, which they always had cymbals they called crash or ride cymbals. So crashes are the big splashy ones and rides are the ting, ting, ting ones.
Right.
He wanted a cymbal that did both. And the original crash rides that were made were more ride than crash and didn't crash very well. This is like the nicest crash cymbal you'll ever hear and the nicest ride cymbal you'll ever hear in one disc. It's just in how you play it. It will bring out those sounds. You pay for it. It's not a cheap piece of gear.
They're selling you two cymbals in one.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, for a 22-inch HHX, they're $700-800 for a cymbal. But it's been pounded with a hammer by a dude for hours and hours and hours to get it to sound that way. And it's got a lot of engineering hours behind it. Like I say, they spent a lot of time. Plus, I mean, it's not cheap to make a cymbal.
Literally handcrafted.
Yeah. So anyway, through those guys, you tend to get a chance to meet more famous people. And it'll blow your mind if you know who's been through here. And
I actually know of, because I knew somebody at one point that worked there and had talked to some of the people, some of the big stars that have been here. I've not met any of them, but
one of the stories I won't tell because it will make this episode way too long. But when JR's had a loft and there was a restaurant in it,
those were the days.
Just say the initials. See if he gets it.
there was a certain group of people that go by the name RHCP. Flea,
Think socks on your cock.
Flea, Chad.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not normally what they go by. So, okay.
In the Blood Sugar Sex Magic era,
wow.
They were sitting at the loft in JR's when I went in for supper.
That's crazy.
So that was a really cool experience because I didn't know they were in town. I wasn't really, invited to be there. I just went in and they were there sitting with someone I knew from Sabian. So it was like one of those things where you go, okay, actually I didn't really know it was them until I got called over to the table to meet them. And then they all had ball caps on. You wouldn't have recognized them because their persona out like on stage is so flamboyant, right?
Yeah. Plus, they're trying to have supper.
Right. But it was cool that I got invited over and got to meet them for a second. I didn't make a big deal. They were eating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, I can get somewhat of the Axl Rose persona thing. Not excusing his personality, but I can only imagine what it's like for a famous person trying to go do anything.
Yeah.
And be encountered over and over and over and over. After a while, if you're having a bad day, man, someone's going to have a bad fan experience because you're just not in the mood for it.
I just want to buy underwear.
But you've met Tony Danza too.
Yeah, but I was a kid. I didn't know who he was.
Was he the boss?
He was at that time, but I didn't have cable, so I didn't see that show until way later in life.
See the foibles of growing up with country cable.
Yeah.
3 channels.
Yeah, Tony Danza. Again, all hunters, right?
3. What was the third one? Oh, there was a French one.
No, it was Channel 3, Channel 6, and Channel 10.
You didn't get 8.
No, I didn't get 8.
I got 8.
I got 8.
On a good night, we got 8.
I couldn't even.
Yeah.
I did well to have it really fuzzy and snowy.
You must have got 8 really well where you were.
I got 8 really well.
Yeah, because
he's right. 3 was shaky.
Yeah, see where I was, it was just about right. I had
but 8 and 10 were perfect because they're out of Maine.
He was like 2 kilometers from the border. So
oh, there you go.
See, I can't relate to that because being from Nova Scotia, we got 3. We got 8.
Yeah.
We got CTV, we got CTV, and we got CBC, and then we got a French channel, which I loved, especially on Saturday nights at midnight because they had a program called Blue Nuit.
Yeah.
I went blind many times.